Hello again, everyone. This is Caroline with Expat Interviews. And as usual, I am lucky because I get to travel all over the globe with fantabulous people, beautiful people, people that are just fearless. You know, they get out here and they do what needs to be done to see the world, to enjoy their life. And when you hear from this young lady, you are going to just buy your ticket. You'll be online looking for a ticket to go somewhere. Nadine Duncan, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, no problem.
So Nadine, as I was saying before we started, I don't even know where to start with you. You are an author of travel. You started a group for Black women that are traveling. You promote Black travel. Um, I don't know. You've lived abroad. What else? You know, Wonder Woman. What other title do we put to you? But anyway, we're going to start with your travels. How long have you been traveling outside of the U.S.?
All my life. So my family's from Trinidad. So I don't remember my first flight or anything like that. But during like my elementary school years, I traveled by myself often. So I was often that unaccompanied minor that was going from the U.S. to Trinidad, spending my entire summer in Trinidad, and then flying back home. So I've been traveling forever. My first destination though outside of Trinidad was Italy, spring break while I was in college. So that's when that first like jolt of, okay, what else is there other than Trinidad to travel to really hit?
Wow, I do have memories of that because my family is part Jamaican, so I was going back and forth as an unaccompanied minor. I remember that. Oh my God, when you said that, I was like, oh my God. So, and it just gives you that travel bug. So, so you've been traveling for a while now, and what, I mean, as an adult, because as a child we didn't have a choice, right? Our parents put us on the plane. And told, you're going to go, but
Yes.
but as an adult, what prompted you? Was it just, your memories of traveling as a child, or did you just say, I want to get out there and see the world? What was it that really made you decide to just
So
continue
it was,
on?
it was really both. It was really both. Like I've always wanted to get out there and see the world or see more of the world just because I was a huge reader as a kid. Like I'm only child. So my nose was like always in a book because I mean, there's no one to talk to. So I'm gonna read this book. And there was no social media and all that then, you know? So I was always thinking of places to go and places to be. But then on top of that, living or growing up in a Caribbean American household and going back and forth where I'm spending literally 3 months in Trinidad and then the remainder of the 9 months of a year in America, like I really got a taste of that like dual culture, that duality that I recognized that a lot of people did not have. And I didn't realize the value of that until I became an adult. And I realized that that gave me the opportunity to see things from different perspectives very, very easily. Like there was no fight for me to be like, oh, okay, I see what you mean. Whereas I noticed that for a lot of people, it's like for them to just say, oh, okay, I don't really agree, but I see what you mean. It's really hard. And it's just like, but then I had to really search and sit back and say, you know what? I've always had multiple perspectives. I've always had multiple perspectives as a Black woman, as a Caribbean woman, the whole 9 yards. So because of that, I'm like, when I travel, I get to like feel comfortable in that space. I get to see and talk to other people who are thinking the same way, like, hey, I've never been here, or hey, I've had this experience, and those conversations feel more comforting to me. So like that's really what kind of like pulled me to be like, okay, I like being able to see these different like parts of life and being able to look at things a little bit differently all on all sides. So that's what kind of like brought me to it and stuck me with it because after a while of being in one place and feeling a little bit too settled, I find myself really itching to travel, not just because I want to get out there and take photos, but really because it's like I want to have some different conversations. Like it could be that simple. Like I want to have some conversations with people who have seen more than Highway I-20 in Atlanta.
I agree with you. I agree. And me, I want to say something, and maybe you can relate to this too. The people that you meet in other countries, even as expats, and them traveling to countries that you are different from, you know, like maybe people that you'd meet back home or people that we hear about. Like, for example, I had this concept of like German people, that they were, you know, mean and stuffy and, you know, nasty people. And I have to tell you, when I lived in Nicaragua, I had one of the most amazing, beautiful experiences with several German travelers. So I find that it's a little different. Would you say the same when you meet those
Oh,
people out?
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like meeting people out who, because they have that same mindset, even though they're not necessarily American, they have that same mindset of, I want to know what's more and I want to experience more and I'm open to accepting what's more. Well, definitely. Even like moving to Abu Dhabi, like people told me that the year I moved was 2010. So it was before this whole boom of travel, before the whole boom of working abroad. And people were telling me like, oh, they're gonna get you and put you in a cartel the moment you land. And I was like, what? Like it was a mess, you know? But I got there and I saw a completely different side of what the Middle East was, especially as it relates to what you see on CNN and all those kind of things. So I was like, okay, here it is. I had this one perception, but now I'm here, I'm in the midst of it, and nothing looks like what I thought I was going to see, you know?
So set us up for this. The UAE, you know, I've never been to the Middle East, but set us up. What, you know, the perception is, oh, it's very Muslim, and oh, it's very, you know, strict, and oh, you know, things are very delicate, and you can't do this and you can't do that. Educate us a little bit on what it's
Sure.
like.
So that and that was actually why I wrote my first guide after my general guide. That's actually why the first one I wrote was about Dubai and Abu Dhabi, because there were so many conversations that I had that were based on what we would call ignorance, but I know ignorance has a very like negative connotation, but that's what it is. I don't know another word for it, but it's just that ignorance of not knowing what to expect. Um, and a lot of it is, yes, there is a level of the society that is very much like, you know, pretty strict, and these are the expectations, and you're going to see signs that are going to ask you to have sleeves on and have your neck covered and things like that. And some of that does feel like, oh man, in America I can walk around with my short shorts and my tank top, no problem. So it feels a little oppressive. But then at the same time, when you get into the culture, you notice that there is that separation with the expats. So you have this whole community where you do feel free in, because they're Westerners. So you can go to the beach just like anyone else. You can go to the club just like anyone else, the bar just like anyone else. The difference is, it's not like Atlanta where you can walk out the door and there's a bar right there. Your bars might be in a hotel or connected to something that is tourist like, because that is who the general clientele would be when you're talking about liquor and partying and things like that, that feel more like a Western society. And then you get in there and you see that they're in there too. You know, the locals are in there partying and have a good time too. You know, it's just that culture of, these are the things that we expect, but these are the things that we do. I think we all do it in all of our cultures.
And what were you doing there? You were teaching?
Yes, I was teaching English. My first year, I taught English pre-K and kindergarten, and in the following 2.5 years, I was actually head of faculty, which is kind of like a instructional coach, I guess you can say.
Okay, okay. So, was it a big culture shock for you, or did you pretty much kind of just blend in?
Um, it was a big culture shock. Probably the first month. The first month was like, whoa, what is going on? Like, I don't know if I'm going or coming. At that time, my locks were really short. So I was like, maybe I should cover my hair. Like, I don't want people to be like, what's that? You know, like, I didn't know. And it was new for them too, because that whole boom of teachers coming in really hadn't settled in yet. So I think for everyone, it was kind of just like, why are you guys here? And then for, for me, it was like kind of, well, why am I here? I don't know. But then there was this interesting way of feeling like, okay, even though I'm out here and this is new and I'm not sure what to expect on a day-to-day basis, there's this strange, I guess you can say, level of comfort that you feel when everyone's in that space that's around you. So everyone around you is kind of like, I don't know either. You don't know either. And, so then you get that camaraderie just on the fact that we're all out there trying to figure it out. And I think that really helped with some of that culture, like being part of that community where everyone's trying to figure it out. Everyone's kind of like going through the same ebbs and flows of, yay, I'm in a different country, to whoa, I'm in a different country, that kind of thing really, really helped it out a little bit. But I mean, the process, you still go through the process. It's having that community that really helped.
Yeah, someone in another interview mentioned something, and I think you just confirmed it. Sometimes being a newbie and not having too much information is kind of cool too when you're around other people, because you're kind of all experiencing it at the same time. You have two
Yeah.
left feet, they have two left feet, so you're just kind of like, okay, what do we
Yeah.
do? It makes it more fun, right? So,
Right.
would you recommend for folks that really don't know a lot about the UAE? I mean, is it a country that you would recommend that we explore for having an experience abroad?
Yes, I most definitely do. The quality of life is vastly different. The service industry in UAE period is just out of this world. Now, in some cases, you look at the service industry and you're like, okay, this is the treatment is not right, and you can see that in certain places. Like, okay, like you can tell like something is not right with the service going on. Like I even went as far as calling it modern day slavery in some time at some points, where they had nannies and things like that, where or people like in positions like that I didn't feel like were being treated correctly. And when that would come to the school and things like that. So on that end, it was kind of like, I don't really care for this aspect of it too much. That was more on the local end. But then on the expat end, you notice that, you know, you get this level of service that makes you feel like you're respected, and if you're the kind of person like, I don't know, most of us are, then you give that respect right back. You know what I mean? So that part of it, I think, feels really good. And that experience feels good because now you're interacting with all these other different cultures and you're redefining what respect looks like. You're redefining what just, relationships look like, that kind of thing. And I think for that part of it, it's really good. I also feel like even spending a year in a place like UAE really gets you to rethink um, values, and not in this religious sense, but in the sense of look at how differently things are valued on this side of the world. Like who values what, who gets to say what's important, all those kind of things. I was having a conversation with someone the other day and I said, I spent 3.5 years in Abu Dhabi teaching English and then was kind of like in this instructional coach like position for English. Then I come back to the USA and I spend 6 months in an ESOL endorsement program. And it's just like you're having to prove day in and day out that you can teach English. And I'm like, but I did it for 3.5 years. What's happening? So you get to see how just how differently things just work, and how natural sometimes things need to be. Whereas sometimes, right here in America, we make things more difficult than we need to. All these different things start to just kind of pop up in your mind, and I think that makes it a rich experience. So even if it's not just the experience of, oh, I'm taking pictures and I'm posting on an IG and I'm just living this great life, there's also this like self-searching, soul-searching type of experience that you go through that really kind of breaks down everything that we thought we knew about defining life. And I think that is the best part of it all.
I agree with you. I agree. I totally agree with you. It is, and it's something you can't describe to someone. It's something that you have to experience. If I sat and told you, oh, well, I went through this thought and I went through that thought, it's just not the same. You have to really experience it. So you put pen to paper and wrote a book about your experiences as a traveling Black woman. Um, what excerpt can you share with us as far as just really motivating someone who is thinking about it, who's maybe afraid of doing it? Because like we had said, a lot of people just take for granted because we've traveled that everybody has the same motivation and fearlessness
Mhm.
as we do. What are some things that you can share to kind of put someone at ease that is a little bit hesitant about traveling?
So one of the first things, or the first layer that people usually use when it comes down to talking about traveling, is they go straight to the money. So I think that's the first thing. Like, it does not have to break the bank. And I know that a lot of the times the issues or the concerns or the fears are much deeper, and money is a great way to be like, oh, I can't afford that. You know, it's a great way to just kind of push it off the table and not think about it anymore. But in order to even get to those deeper parts, I feel like that's the first thing that needs to be addressed and debunked, so that way we can get to some of those fears. And that's the idea that traveling has to be this huge, luxurious experience instead of a real time, let me learn more about myself type of experience. So that means I don't have to break the bank. I don't have to stay at a 5-star hotel. I don't have to be in first class. You know, and for some people, yeah, that might be their thing, and that's fine. But for people who are looking for that experience, and they look like, whether it be on Instagram or just on pictures in general, and they see people being so luxurious and they think, oh man, I really can't attain this because look at how much I have to do to get there. It's like, girl, put on your sweatpants and your Uggs and get on that plane with your backpack and take a selfie right when you land in front of the welcome to wherever you are sign. And that is good enough, because the experience is within. So I think that is the first point of business, is like, hey, this does not have to break the bank. This can be all about you.
Yep. I totally agree with you. That is just so deep what you just said, because it's true. And it's all about the experience, you know. And also, you know, we all think that, oh, but if I pack everything and I leave and I go, you know, maybe I can't come back, or, you know, what if, and, you know, why not go and have an experience? It doesn't mean that you'll never go back to the US or your homeland or wherever you're from. You know, it's just stepping out and having that adventure. So I like that you said that, because that is really important. It isn't just an end all, the be all to end all kind of a, you know, oh, I'm
right.
just going to go to the UAE and I'll never be able to come back home again. So,
Right.
so you also do, you also have like a group, Traveling Black Women. Do you have it on Facebook also, or is it?
Yes, it's also a group on Facebook.
Okay,
Yes.
so we're just talking about travel and experiences. Do you help people find discounts or give tips on
So
places to go?
the way our Facebook group is kind of set up, it's an open forum. Now, of course, you know, posting, there's you know, a check and balance system with posting and whatnot. But for the most part, it's an open forum. So people ask questions and people offer answers. There are several what I would call approved agents, or what I have called approved agents within the group and within the network. Right now, we're down to about 6. And the way that works is they are the ones that will, if they have a trip coming up, they can promote to the group. They're not official like employees or anything of that kind of nature. What it is these are people who are travel agents, but they're not just, you know, the evolution travel agents or some of the vacation type of travel agents, but they're travel agents who they may have those things, but they've set up an LLC. They already have some trips under their belt. They have some reviews, that kind of thing. And that's more to kind of protect the members in that group. Because right now, I think we're at maybe 20,000, 22,000, and that might even be low, but we're at a good couple thousand. I know it's a little bit lower than Instagram followers, but it's a good amount. And I think it's enough where I would hate for someone who's a new person to come into the group and then be kind of like duped by somebody else who might be in the group that is not legit. So that part, that's another thing in the group. So if you're looking for a, you know, pretty strong travel agent who has been vetted by someone, like I'm pulling up like what do you call it, Secretary of State like filings and things like that to make sure these are legit people. So people know that they can come into that group and find a legit travel agent. So those things, of course, I said the open forum. And that is mainly it. Then of course people are sharing pictures and their experience, but that's the biggest part of it, being able to share their experience and have those ask questions and have those questions answered and things like that.
So it's okay. I guess we're not really encouraging women to travel by themselves, but we're telling them it's okay to travel, and there's always someone else who is traveling or going along the same path, and they can go together. Or is it for solo travel, or is it for just, can we go with our bae?
Yeah, it's all of the above. It is literally all of the above. Like that's how open it is. So it is bay travel. It is solo travel. We have a solo travel book. We have a studying abroad book. So it's anything revolving around travel for the Black woman, you know? So it's kind of like, if you want to travel, whether that be with your children, with your bae, or by yourself, come on in and ask us some questions. And I'm sure people are going to answer you, you know? It's more like that.
That's great. That's great. Well, any words of advice? I know you had touched on a little bit before, but just a short motivational message for anyone who is thinking, and now we've given them a little bit of food for thought, but just a last message for anyone who feels like, wow, I don't know if I can do this. What message do you have?
Favorite phrase, 3 words. This ain't it. This ain't it. This isn't all there is. That's all, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't all there is. So even though it seems like moving abroad would be the scariest possible thing to do, to pick up your home and to move somewhere else, like, at the end of the day, any thought that you have about leaving the country and experiencing something different is probably hinged off, not necessarily running away, but hinged off of some level of frustration that you've experienced right where you are now. So recognizing that because you've experienced that frustration, you're allowed to tell yourself, you know what, I'm frustrated, but this ain't it. This isn't going to be the end of my story. I am going to figure it out and rewrite it some other kind of way. And even if it's not moving internationally, like being able to pick up and go somewhere else and get that different experience and actually immerse yourself in that experience and recognize that, like, what I thought was a big deal was just a small corner with a small deal in a small corner of the world. You know what I mean? So that's it. It's literally getting into the mindset of saying, this ain't it. When everything is like kind of falling apart, it's just like, this ain't it. I can really like do something else.
And you're not alone. That's the beautiful part. You're not alone. I'm sure for every one person that feels that way, there's 2,500 other women that are, going through the same thing. All right, Miss Nadine, how can we connect with you? You mentioned you have a Facebook group, you're on Instagram. How can we connect with you on Instagram?
Yeah, so Instagram, I'm at Traveling Black Women. So very easy to remember because there's no underscore, all that kind of stuff. On Twitter, it's Traveling _ Black Woman. And it's like BLK _ WM. Once you type in Traveling Black Woman, it'll pop up. And then Facebook, the same thing. And then we're on Amazon. We've got 11 books right now on Amazon, 11 different guides on Amazon. So, like, okay, I just need to sit down with a book. One of the reasons why I do guides instead of blogs is kind of like, my generation likes books. So sit down with a book and kind of thumb through it and make some notes and write in it. So if that's your thing, and you just kind of want to know how to get out there, that's available. So that's how you can get in contact with me. Following me on any one of the social medias, DM, I always answer my DMs. Yeah, and that's it.
So basically, in a nutshell, what you're saying is you have no excuse. No one has an excuse not to get up and go.
That's right. And I know a lot of people get concerned about their family and the family members they might leave behind or the family members they might need to take with them. But there are so many people already moving in that space that it's now in 2021, as opposed to 2010, it's so easy just to like link up with someone and say, hey, help, I want to do this. I know this ain't it, so I need some help.
Well, Nadine Duncan, it has been a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom, your thoughts on travel. And yes, I know that someone who watches this is gonna to feel that nudge and just get up and just go. Just do it. Don't look back.
I certainly hope so.
Thank you so much again. We appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Alrighty.